5 Labour mayors are set to meet later. They're going to issue a plea to the Prime Minister not to scrap the HS2 link between Birmingham and Manchester.
So Sunak has refused to guarantee the HS2 line will make it to Manchester, and it's just days before the Tory conference, which I'll have the joy of being at.
Yes, notably on yesterday's show, Lord Berkeley proposed a staggering estimate of around £180 billion now to complete the project. That's 80 billion more than the
worst case scenario.
The worst case scenario of 100 billion.
Yeah.
And, you know, he could be right. The question on everyone's mind, is it time to just scrap the lot? So joining us to discuss this is Conservative MP Sir Michael Fabricant and Chief Executive of Downton in Business, Frank Mckenna. Michael, shall we start with you? Thank you for joining us. Am I right in thinking you think the government should cut their losses and just scrap the whole project?
I don't think they'll scrap the whole project because so much construction has gone on already. It would cost even more to actually, scrap the whole project. But what I do think the government may well do is say, look, the phase 1 goes up to a place called Handsacre, north of Lichfield, past Birmingham, and at that point it joins the West Coast Main Line. So scrap the rest of it. Cut our losses.
You say just north of Lichfield, which happens to be your constituency. Are you going to declare a very big interest here?
I do declare a very big interest. Look, I used to be a chartered engineer when I paid my subscription, so I have made a real study of HS2 because it passes my constituency. Originally, HS2 was a brilliant idea until Lord Adonis, when he was Labour Transport Secretary, started to interfere with it. Originally, it was going to connect with the Channel Tunnel and Paris. It was going to go into Birmingham New Street, which would have made sense because that actually is a major interchange. It would have gone into Manchester Piccadilly. In fact, now it's going into these standalone stations. And the demand has fallen since COVID. The number of people who hold season tickets has fallen by about 40% because people aren't using the train as much. The government's own estimates originally were that for every pound invested in HS2, we'd get £2.50 back. The latest estimate is for every pound invested, the economy will get just 90p back. We have got to cut our losses.
All right, well, let's bring Frank Mckenna in here. Frank Mckenna, I presume you fundamentally disagree with everything Michael Fabricant has just said.
Not everything, because I think the points he made about the original plan are well made, and I would support that. I'd also point out, by the way, in terms of the West Midlands, the Mayor there, Andy Street, has been very critical of the government's approach to the whole project and the claim that they may totally scrap it this week. But what I would say is two things, really. I think the government now are looking like an administration that are fast running out of track, forgive the pun. And, you know, they are to long-term investment in infrastructure, what Lawrence Fox is to women's rights. You know, you're basically looking at, talk about this figure, 100 billion or even 180 billion pounds, as though it's this huge figure that we're going to spend on a project that is literally going to last us a couple of weeks. In 21-23, 100 years from now, £180 billion will look like a pittance.
Hang on, Frank, I've got to pick you up on that one. It was supposed, sorry, Frank, but it was supposed to cost 30 billion. That has ballooned to 100 billion. Surely you accept the argument that perhaps that money could be spent better if we're looking at levelling up on local infrastructure projects, different train links. At the moment, it's just, we're in this absurd situation where we're just pouring billions and billions into a project that may not have, you know, a good business case any longer.
But believe it or not,
forgive my incredulity at the...
Have we lost him?
Oh, no.
We've lost Frank Mckenna. Michael, you'll be delighted. Frank, we've got you back. Can you try again with your answer?
Yeah, I was just saying, forgive my incredulity at the idea that the North will be now getting all this cash to improve our transport infrastructure. On our trains now, on occasions, the guy who's driving the train will actually say to us, pedal faster. You know, we're on Victorian lines. And the problem with scrapping HS2 is that it's integral to actually improving the Northern Rail link as well. And if you're suggesting to me now that what we're going to do is go away and think of an alternative plan, I would ask you how long that's going to take. You're quite right. When this project was originally devised, it was costed at £30 billion. Why have the costs spiralled? Because it takes this country an absolute age to do any major infrastructure project. It's a disgrace. Reform the planning laws, stop playing into the NIMBY agenda, and start building for the future and allow the North to contribute to the economy in the way that we want to. This is absolutely disastrous for investment, for business, for entrepreneurship, for the North of England. And you only have to, again, I'll say to Michael, look at what the people who've just taken over Birmingham City Football Club have said about a decision to reverse HS2. They would not have invested in that football club had they thought that this project wasn't going to ahead.
I'm not sure that's
the
true.
Private sector have already paused.
We're going to have to end it there, Frank. We've given you plenty of time to put your case. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with you. Others do see this as the economic case.
Exactly. So that was Sir Michael Fabricant, the Tory MP, and Frank Mckenna, who's the Chief Executive of Downtown Biz. Thanks, guys, for joining. Shows that, doesn't it, how this is going to rumble. Now, those 5 mayors are meeting. They are, who are they? There's Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, for now. Andy Burnham, the King of the North, as he's often known. Tracy Brabin, she's Yorkshire, I think. Oliver Coppard and Steve Rotherham, who's the Mayor of Liverpool.